Welcome back guys. In this video I'll be showing you how to use Intel's XeSS frame generation and low latency mode in Robocop the Rogue City and Formula 1 2025 running on my Rog Ally that has an AMD based GPU Radeon 780M. In order to use these XeSS features in games running on non-Intel GPUs, the games already need to support XeSS frame generation. We just need to manually update the game's XeSS files to the latest ones. You can get the latest XeSS files by downloading XeSS SDK version 2.1 from GitHub. I'll give its link in the description. Just click on the .zip link here. In Robocop Rogue City, in-game XeSS frame generation setting won't get exposed by manually updating the in-game XeSS files. This is why I'll be using OptiPatcher. We'll inject OptiPatcher into the game via Optiscaler Mod. We'll show you the complete process for it. No Optiscaler Mod is required in Formula 1 2025. I'll also compare the in-game XeSS frame generation implementation with the in-game FSR frame generation implementation in both of the games. We'll be testing the Steam version of Robocop and EA app version of Formula 1 2025. Now I got my EA Play membership via my PC Game Pass subscription. Big thanks to keymailer and Xbox for providing me with a free monthly subscription of PC Game Pass. It gives us access to hundreds of games. We can play these games for as long as we want until our subscription expires. Games from first-party Microsoft Studio and even third-party studios are available on PC Game Pass. Even EA Play membership is included. I'll kick things off with Robocop. First I'll show you how to install Optiscaler and OptiPatcher. We'll be using the latest nightly build of Optiscaler Mod. Can be downloaded for free from Optiscaler's GitHub. We'll give its link in the description. Scroll down until you find the asset section expanded. Click on this .7z link. Build version 0.7.7 preview 13 2025 0731. Don't download the older versions of Optiscaler. Need this version for loading OptiPatcher. This is the version you need to use. 0.16a or anything newer than this. Okay, version 0.17 is also available, so I'll download this .asi file, OptiPatcher _ version 0.17. You can see in the changelog for version 0.16a, Robocop Rogue City unlocks Xe frame generation 2.1. Now I'll install Optiscaler Mod, open its archive file, copy the highlighted files, 3 of them. Need to paste them in the game's install directory. Select the game in your Steam library, right click, manage, click on browse local files, open game folder, binaries folder, Win64 folder, paste the mod files here. Now just change the name of optiscaler.tll file to dxgi.tll. The injector file, rename, save, open optiscaler.ini file. In Robocop, the Upscaler is not decoupled from frame generation, so I'll be using Optiscaler XeSS Upscaler and will combine it with FSR frame generation and XeSS frame generation. Just set DX12 Upscaler to XeSS, set FG type to no FG. Scroll down until you find spoofing section. Here look for a line name DXGI. Just set it to false. Disable NVIDIA GPU spoofing. Scroll down again until you find plugin section. From here you just need to set load ASI plugins to true. Set to auto by default. Click on file, click on save, close. In the game directory where you install Optiscaler Mod, just create a new folder and name it as plugin. In this plugins folder, we need to paste optiscaler.asi file. Done. Empty. Copy optiscaler.asi file on the downloads directory. Open the game's install directory. Game folder, binaries folder, Win64 folder, plugins folder, paste it here. Now I'll manually update the game's XeSS files. Open XeSS SDK archive file, open bin folder, copy the highlighted files, libxell.tll, libxeSS.tll and libxeSS_fg.tll. Open the game's install directory, open engine folder, plugins folder, runtime folder, Intel folder, XeSS, binaries, third party Win64, replace the older versions of the file with the latest ones. We are done. Adrenaline settings for the game. FreeSync and VSync enable. I've set the UMA buffer size to 6 GB. My line is running on BIOS version 342. Install Alliance latest official GPU driver that I had support for. Doom the Dark Ages. Using a 27 watts manual profile, all three power values set at 27 watts. 900p resolution. CPU boost. Disable. Connected my FlyDigi Vader 4 Pro controller to Ally via Bluetooth mode. X input controller. This game comes with a very bad implementation of FSR 3 Upscaler, struggles to render the wet roads properly, produces a sparkling like effect. Window mode, make sure it's set to windowed full screen. In exclusive full screen mode, XeSS frame generation does not work. Change the resolution to 900p. Back to windowed full screen mode. Lower the volume in order to avoid copyright. I have set the upscaler to FSR 3. Using the upscaler's quality preset, FSR frame generation disabled for the timing, show you the base game performance first. Post processing settings set to low. Rest of the settings set to medium. Reflection method lumen. Using a custom afterburner overlay to show you the performance metrics. Chromatic aberration, motion blur disabled. FPS uncap. Yeah, we are in. I am in downtown. Open Optiscaler menu by pressing the insert keyword key, increase its size. Click on the drop down bar next to menu UI scale. Set the value to 1.2. Much better now. Upscaler selected. XeSS version 2.0.2. Input FSR upscaler in game. DXGS spoofing off. Auto explore setting is on. No frame generation. You can close the setting. And just click on save INI here. The base resolution value is showed at the bottom of Optiscaler menu, 1067 by 601 pixel, upscale to 900p. Yeah, here FPS is around 37. Image quality, beg your pardon, animation quality, it's looking a bit choppy. Check out the wet road, it's not producing a very ugly sparkling like effect. Let me just switch to FSR upscaler. Highlight that sparkling effect. From this drop down bar, select FSR 3.x, change upscaler, switch to FSR 3.1.4. Look at the road, it's wet, and FSR algorithm is struggling to render this wet road properly. No idea what's going on. Go back to XeSS upscaler. FPS stays close to 40. Base game performance, that sparkling effect has been reduced considerably by XeSS upscaler. We are outside Alliance VRR range. I measured in-game latency in this sequence using AMD's frame latency meter. I'll show you the values now. I was using a lower TDP value at that time. Base FPS was around 36 and the latency value was around 120 milliseconds. Okay, now I'll enable FSR frame generation. Apply. Below it the same checkpoint. Yeah, FPS increased to around 63, 64. Slight increase in latency. Smoothing effect, yeah, it's working. Nothing impressive though. A bit disappointed. I have seen 60 FPS with frame generation look better than this. Just do not combine the in-game FSR frame generation with the in-game FSR upscaler. Okay, 58 to 64 FPS. I measured this sequence latency as well using FLM. Used the lower TDP value at that time. FPS with frame generation was around 57 and the latency value was around 130 milliseconds. Roughly a 10 milliseconds increase in latency after enabling the in-game FSR frame generation. Now I'll show you how to use the in-game XeSS frame generation implementation. You need to change the upscaler to XeSS. using the Upscaler's quantity preset. Restart is required for enabling Intel's XeSS frame generation. Apply. Exit the game. Play. After restarting the game, you should be able to access the in-game Intel frame generation setting on, working. Intel low latency mode setting will get enabled automatically. Afterburner frame pacing graph will look very thick like this. If you want to flatline the graph, just cap the FPS to a value slightly lower than your current FPS value. For example, here I am getting 65 FPS, so cap the FPS at 60. Load the same sequence. Optiscaler menu using the same upscaler. Base resolution 1067 by 600 pixels. Upscale to 900p resolution. So we are directly comparing XeSS frame generation with FSR frame generation, and wow, look at that smoothing effect. This is amazing. XeSS frame generation smoothing effect is better than that of FSR frame generation. FPS value is close to 65. You are getting roughly the same performance with FSR frame generation. In this alleyway, FPS dropped to 59 and I was using FSR. Same performance. So performance wise, it's a tie, but when it comes to smoothness, XeSS frame generation is definitely better than FSR frame generation. Latency seems to be on par. Okay, let me just change the resolution from 900p to 720p. In this way we should be getting close to 80 fps. It will help in improving the latency. Very impressive results. Resolution dropped to 720p. Reload the same checkpoint. Oh my god, game is running so smoothly now. We are getting close to 84 fps. Latency improved considerably after dropping the resolution from 900p to 720p. When using XeSS frame generation, target a minimum of 45 as the base FPS. This way, XeSS algorithm will get enough data to process the interpolated frames properly. Latency won't be a problem when playing the game using a gamepad. I'll show you the FLM results as well. So smooth, not observing any frame pacing issues. I'll fix this frame pacing graph as well and just cap the FPS at 80 using RTSS, slightly lower than the current FPS value. See, but smoothing effect was much better with an uncapped FPS. FLM result for Robocop running with XeSS frame generation. FPS was close to 57. Latency value close to 140 milliseconds. With FSR frame generation, FLM reported a latency value of around 130 milliseconds, and without any frame generation technique, latency value was around 120 milliseconds. Make of this data what you will. Now I'll be testing XeSS frame generation in Formula 1 2025. The thing is, temporal upscalers like DLSS, XeSS and FSR produce some noticeable ghosting around the bumper of a fast moving vehicle. This ghosting effect becomes more noticeable, more aggressive when we enable FSR frame generation, but this does not happen in the case of XeSS frame generation. I haven't tested DLSS frame generation in any such game, but I am pretty sure it also does not make this ghosting effect more aggressive. This is a big win for XeSS frame generation in my opinion. I'll highlight this graphical artifact in this game. We cannot move the camera around using the right stick, so no latency measurements. We just need to update the XeSS files of the games. Open XeSS SDK file, the archive file. Now open bin folder. Copy the 3 DLL files, libxeSS_fg, libxeSS, libxeLL. I'll be running the EA app version of the game. Open your EA app library. Select the game. Click on manage. Click on view properties, click on open folder. This will open the game's installed directory. Paste XeSS files here. Replace the older files with the latest ones. That's it. Now we will be able to access the in-game XeSS frame generation setting, adrenaline settings for the game, FreeSync and VSync enabled. I'll be targeting a base FPS of 50 to 60 in this game, racing game. Motion blur, very important, set it to nil. Ray tracing off. Post processing setting low. Most of the settings set to high. Variable rate shading setting disable. High quality hair disable. Reflex off. It's for NVIDIA GPUs. This setting shouldn't be accessible on Rog Ally Radeon 780M GPU from AMD. Okay, access video mode settings, 900p resolution, windowed full screen mode, very important. XeSS frame generation does not work in exclusive full screen mode. VSync is off, refresh rate 120Hz, max value, isotropic filtering 16 times, Upscaler XeSS, using the Upscaler's quality preset. Frame generation disabled for the timing, show you the base game performance first. On Austria track, dynamic resolution is off, that's it. Upscaler is decoupled from frame generation in this game. Yeah, the race is about to start. This game runs very nicely on Rog Ally. Frame pacing graph mostly stays a flat line. Just observe the vehicle's bumper here and the tires. There's some minor ghosting. I'm pretty sure you won't be able to observe this ghosting on Rog Ally's small display. I'm also recording this video using my mobile, but this ghosting effect will become very easily noticeable when I switch to FSR frame generation. Lot of racers in this race, but FPS still stays close to 60. That's really good to see. Hitting the GPU bottleneck, VRAM usage is around 5.4 GB. Okay, now I'll enable FSR frame generation. There's the ghosting effect around the big tires right here. I actually observed this ghosting on my monitor, bigger display. Just open video mode settings and from here enable FSR frame generation. We even have access to Intel XeFG FSR frame generation. Now you need to restart the game for FSR frame generation to work. We have seen something similar happening in the case of Cyberpunk 2077. Some games don't require a restart to get frame generation techniques working. This is about to start. FPS increased to around 90. Frame generation is working, seems to be working. It's difficult to perceive the added amount of smoothness in this game as we cannot move the camera around. Just observe the vehicle's tires here. You can see some ghosting now. See the tires. Ghosting effect produced around the bumper of the vehicle. Oh no, went off track. I'll just switch to another camera angle. This is near chase, far chase. Yeah, there's the ghosting effect that I was talking about. Very easily noticeable now. It's flickering. And this is the official in-game FSR frame generation implementation. I'm not using any mod. Very disappointing. FPS stays within a range of 85 to 90. Okay, I'll just switch to a different camera perspective. Cockpit, show you the wheel, steering wheel. Just observe the left stick, give you an idea about the input delay.
Okay, not a great start, but let's get back on track.
Okay, now I'll switch to XeSS frame generation using the same upscaler XeSS. Frame generation set to Intel XeFG. Again we need to restart the game. Exit, play. Yeah, the race started. Thick frame pacing graph, this means XeSS frame generation is working. Just observe the vehicle's tires now. Where is that ghosting? This is amazing. XeSS frame generation does not produce any excessive ghosting around a fast moving vehicle's bumper, the tires. Some minor ghosting will be present. It is caused by the temporal upscaler XeSS. Even DLSS causes this ghosting. You must have seen this ghosting in GTA 5 Enhanced Edition. Produces very ugly ghosting around a fast moving vehicle's bumper. Yeah, FPS value here is close to 88, 89, roughly the same performance that we were getting with FSR frame generation. Performance wise, it's a tie. No graphical artifacts. Easy win for XeSS frame generation. I'll change the camera perspective. This is near chase, far chase. Resume the game. Yeah, still no graphical artifacts at the bottom edge of the display. Other races. Game is running very smoothly. Change the camera perspective to cockpit view. Check out the latency. Nothing extreme. Base FPS was already close to 60.
You can now use DRS.
No one is going to use FSR frame generation in this game if it's going to produce very ugly flickering around the bottom edge of the display. Highly recommended to use XeSS frame generation, which even works on non-Intel GPUs. That's it with the video, guys. I hope you find it useful. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.